Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Let's see what's coming up. And world leaders gathered in Kuala Lumpur as Malaysia is hosting world leaders for the 47th ASEAN Summit. ASEAN is central to India's Act East policy, serving as a cornerstone for economic, strategic and cultural engagement across the Indo-Pacific. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to join the ASEAN-India Summit virtually. Earlier this week, Prime Minister Modi spoke with Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim and extended greetings on Malaysia's assumption of the ASEAN chairmanship. He conveyed best wishes for the successful conduct of the ASEAN-related summits under Malaysia's leadership. PM reaffirmed India's commitment to further strengthening the ASEAN-India Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. India and ASEAN will look to strengthen cooperation in maritime security, counter-terrorism and cyber-security, expedite the ASEAN-India Trade in Goods Agreement to make it more effective and user-friendly, promote diverse, secure, transparent and resilient supply chains, cooperation in humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, peacekeeping measures, cooperate on emerging technologies including AI, blockchain, Internet of Things, robotics, quantum computing, 6G, boost people-to-people ties with 2025 designated as the ASEAN-India Year of Tourism. And world leaders have gathered in Kuala Lumpur for the 47th ASEAN Summit. ASEAN is central to India's Act East policy, serving as a cornerstone for economic, strategic and cultural engagement across the Indo-Pacific. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to join the ASEAN-India Summit virtually. And earlier this week, PM Modi spoke with Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim and extended greetings on Malaysia's assumption of ASEAN chairmanship. He also conveyed best wishes for the successful conduct of the ASEAN-related summits under Malaysia's leadership. And of course, my colleague Jessica is joining me live, and also I have Ashok Sajjanar, who's former senior diplomat, and also Professor Harshvardhan Pant, Vice President ORF, joining me live on the broadcast. Welcome all. First to you, Jessica. What can we expect this time around from the ASEAN Summit?
Well, there are a lot of issues that will dominate the summits this year, particularly related to the Thailand peace talks, or whether it's about navigating the global economic order, given the kind of tariffs that have been put by the American administration, even on the ASEAN nations, and also the induction of Timor-Leste. And let's not forget the 5-point consensus for Myanmar, which is also part of the ASEAN, the agendas in the last few years. So a lot that would be looked forward to in terms of ASEAN engagement, and even with India's presence there, with Dr. S. Jaishankar representing India and the Prime Minister shortly to now address the ASEAN Summit and lay out India's plan and further engagement with ASEAN, which earlier, a decade ago, was Look East policy and then was Act East policy. So certainly a lot has changed in the last 10 years. India's engagement has increased, not just in the Pacific region, where you also had INS Sudarshini, which took an expedition to various ASEAN countries, showing India's support for a free and open and inclusive Indo-Pacific, which India feels it would want to see an order which is not hegemonic and perhaps takes into consideration of all the countries in the region, specifically in the South China Sea. And apart from that, you've seen India's outreach to the ASEAN nations, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the last decade has attended various East Asia summits and also ASEAN summits held across the last 10 years or so. So we've seen how India has changed its position from Look East to Act East. But yes, there are considerable moments and exchanges of ideas, and also in terms of enhancing trade with ASEAN countries, which India is now keen to do, given its economic heft. And perhaps India will take advantage of that economic well-being, so to say, at this point in time, and engage with the ASEAN leaders, given the mutual concerns between the two when it comes to the sudden shift in the geo-economic order. Siddharth.
Definitely, Jessica, stay with us. I'll get back to you. Mr. Sajjana, now I want to ask you, like my correspondent, my colleague Jessica was saying that a lot has changed in the last 10 years. What can you tell us about the significance of this summit, to our viewers?
Yeah, thank you very much, Siddharth. You're right. We celebrated the 10th anniversary of the ACT East Summit, our policy last year, because that was launched in 2014. From 1992, we had the Look East policy, and that also had registered some very significant achievements, some very significant successes. I think when we are talking about ASEAN, we need to remember, Siddharth, that, although our relationship, our dialogue partnership with the ASEAN might have started in 1992. We started as a sectoral dialogue partner. Then we became in 1992, we became a full dialogue partner in 1996. We became summit level partner and a strategic partner in 2002. We had also the India-ASEAN FTA, which was signed launched in 2002, signed in 2009. So there's been a progress. In 2022, we had the comprehensive strategic partnership between the two sides, India and ASEAN, that has been signed. So our relations are very vibrant as far as our Act East policy and our Indo-Pacific vision is concerned. ASEAN is a very strong pillar of that, our Act East policy. Prime Minister Modi has been participating, over the last 10, 11 years. He's participated in all the summit meetings. Of course, during the COVID time, it was done virtually because no in-person summit meetings were held. He missed out only on in 2022 when, there were some domestic engagements. And this time also, Prime Minister is going to be participating in the India-ASEAN Summit in a virtual format. Tomorrow will be the East Asia Summit. So, in Kuala Lumpur, there are 3 big summits that are being organized at this moment. First is amongst the ASEAN countries themselves. There are 10 members of the ASEAN. Today, they become 11 members, as the ticker at the bottom of this news shows. East Timor-Leste has become the 11th member of the ASEAN. It started in 1967, so it's been growing and progressing. And in addition to that, what is of interest to India is the India-ASEAN Summit, which will take place today. And then that is the 22nd summit. And tomorrow will be the East Asia Summit, in which Dr. Jaishankar will be participating. Our relations, whether it is in trade, whether it is in, you had right at the beginning mentioned about, the ASEAN-India agreement of trade in goods. That is a very important element. It was signed in 2009. It has been growing very satisfactorily. Today, we have more than $120 billion of bilateral trade in goods with the ASEAN, but this is again tilted against India. It is, we have a trade deficit with ASEAN. And since 2022, we have been having a negotiation for better implementation of this and seeing what are the changes that could be made in this ASEAN-India trade in goods agreement. That will be an important element. In addition to that, of course, there is, this year has been designated as the year of tourism. Next year, India has proposed it should be designated as an India-ASEAN year of maritime cooperation. So in which we have, in terms of freedom of navigation, sustainable fisheries, regional disaster cooperation.
Right.
So there are many areas, critical technologies, emerging technologies. All these areas are going to be discussed today during the India-ASEAN Summit.
Definitely. We also have Professor Pant with us. Professor Pant, I would like to ask you, how do you see this change in approach from look east to act east? How do you analyze this?
Hi, thank you, Siddharth. See, it has been a very important shift because the words themselves reflect the new realities that India had been confronting in Southeast Asia for a while. And the Look East policy was largely around economic and trade ties, and that was the time in early 1990s. When it was launched, it was about India building partnerships, India building trade and economic partnerships with a very economically dynamic part of the world, which was Southeast Asia, and ASEAN were at the heart of it. ASEAN nations. And then I think by 2014, when we had the Modi government changing the nomenclature, it was a reflection of the fact that the strategic realities had evolved. India itself had become an important economic player, and there was an element of interest on the ASEAN side to have India as an important economic partner, but beyond that as an important strategic partner, because of the kind of challenges that were already visible even then. Because the traditional roadmap that ASEAN nations have followed is a two-pronged one, where they rely on China, where they have traditionally tended to rely on China as their economic benefactor, and the US as a security one. And I think that model worked for a long time. But now I think ASEAN is finding that model is creating more problems than it is solving, because it is a highly contested space in Southeast Asia at the moment, particularly between US and China. We have seen Mr. Trump's statements committing US to a long-term partnership with ASEAN, which had been a cause of worry to some countries in ASEAN. And I think ASEAN wants diversification of its partners. And India, therefore, emerges not simply as an economic partner, but also as a partner that has a strategic heft in the region that is demonstrable today. So I think in that sense, the arc of India's policy towards the region, towards ASEAN, towards Southeast Asia has moved very nimbly from look east to act east, reflecting the ground level realities and reflecting the aspirations both in New Delhi and in ASEAN, among ASEAN members. And now, of course, the contestation, great power contestation is sharpening. The ASEAN itself is under enormous pressure. There are challenges from Myanmar to South China Sea to Thailand, Cambodia, for example, for which the agreement was signed in Mr. Trump's presence, already indicate that change is coming to ASEAN, and ASEAN is having to find new ways of managing that shift, managing that turbulence. And I think partnering with India allows it to leverage that partnership towards that stability. And I think the fact that India believes in ASEAN centrality, the fact that India wants an open, inclusive Indo-Pacific, means that India wants ASEAN to play a critical role. And in that sense, I think the relationship from look east to act east has grown organically based on whether we have seen people-to-people ties, economic ties, and now increasingly maritime ties, security ties, strategic ties, which I think are going to be important, shapers of this very important bilateral engagement, which is not only institutional at the level of ASEAN, but also bilateral at the level of individual member states. It used to be 10, now 11.
Exactly. Jessica, on the very first day of the summit, a lot of developments took place, from East Timor becoming the 11th member of ASEAN bloc to Cambodia and Thailand signing a historic peace deal in Trump's presence. How do you sum up that, when it comes to the mechanism of ASEAN, which is to resolve disputes within the group? And now with Trump's intervention, do you think it has added an additional impetus to that mechanism of the bloc?
And you've seen the successive United States president, Joe Biden, or his predecessors, which was Donald Trump, and now him again back in on his Asia tour and attending the East Asia Summit as well as the APEC Summit in South Korea. You've seen that kind of engagement with the President of the United States in the past as well. But what it tells you this time around is because there are a lot of trade-related tensions between the United States and many other nations, especially with another dialogue partner at the ASEAN Summit, which is China. A lot is on the discussion table, apart from just what is sort of to take place in ASEAN with the Thailand-Cambodia peace talks and the final negotiation signing of the pact, which also requires the presence of Donald Trump as is being presented to the world. And apart from that, there is also a development building up on what needs to be done in terms of Myanmar, as the 5-point consensus has been put forth for their consideration, and how to further engage with the military junta, perhaps to have that regional stability and peace, not just on the waters, but also with the neighbors who've been part of ASEAN for a very long time. So a lot of deliberations, so to say, that would take place. But yes, there are a lot of dialogue partners as well, whose own engagements and whose pull-asides in their bilateral meetings would also sort of highlight the importance of ASEAN Summit and how the West collectively, along with the United States, continues to engage with ASEAN, and what kind of issues does it sort of take into consideration, whether it's Taiwan or other, more important geo-economic and geopolitical issues.
Definitely, Jessica. Mr. Sajjanar, like I was just mentioning to my colleague Jessica, that on the very first day there have been a lot of developments, from Thailand-Cambodia peace deal to East Timor becoming the member. We also have one new development of the economic deal, which is signed by the United States to Cambodia and Malaysia, as well as Thailand. When it comes to Thailand, the critical minerals, few days back, if you remember, US and Australia signed a critical rare earths deal, critical minerals deal, and now with Thailand. What does it show,
Yeah, thank you. It is very clear that critical minerals, rare earths, that is an area that is of prime importance as far as the United States is concerned. Now, as far as Australia is concerned, that was a good deal, $8 billion, and there would be prospecting and there would be processing. Of course, Australia has a huge territory, very large, and it is known that it has very significant quantities of rare earths and critical minerals. But as far as Thailand and as far as Cambodia are concerned, I'm not really certain as to, what is the availability, and definitely in terms of the processing possibilities and prospects. I think those would be rather limited, but it does definitely.
Mr. Sajjanar, is it like signing the deal from wherever you can?
Yeah, in a manner of speaking, but we'll really have to wait and see. I would like to look at the finer details before sort of commenting in any concrete way, in any significant way. Right now, what has been announced is that it is a deal on critical minerals. And, this would, Mr. Trump would be wanting to strengthen his approach that, I'm using tariffs as a foreign policy instrument, that is in terms of taking forward the U.S. national interests, security interests forward. And also I'm using tariffs. This is some sort of an argument that has been made by the United States in its, in a legal case in a court, that this serves the national security purpose. And here signing the trade deal both with Thailand and Cambodia, particularly, of course, with Malaysia, because, Malaysia is the host, and, there would have been a deal that is being signed. But on that, trying to bring these two countries together, saying that, I've been able to bring them together because I've been able to use the instrument of tariffs. I've been able to use the instruments of trade. And of course, as far as rare earths and critical minerals, as I mentioned and as you commented also, that let us see what are the possibilities. I don't know whether there is any very deep study that is available, that there are good prospects, good quantities of rare earths in Thailand and in Cambodia. But if there is, and both the countries can cooperate, it is good, because the more that we can get critical minerals into the global market, into global trade and commerce, the better it is, because we see that China is completely weaponizing the the processed critical minerals, and that is what it has said that you'll have to seek permission even if the content of Chinese processed critical minerals is 0.01%. So this is really putting shackles on global industry, not only on the American economy, but also on the global economy. So I think the more that we can get from whatever sources are available into the international market, the better it is going to be.
Definitely. Professor Pant, I would like to ask you, when it comes to India-ASEAN relations, what challenges do you see when it comes to their deepening comprehensive strategic partnership?
I think the challenge is fundamentally how does ASEAN decide to move ahead with its foreign policy priorities at a time of great US-China contestation. I think the good old days where ASEAN could work together under the security guardianship of the US and with the economic dynamism of China, those days are over. Because increasingly countries are being forced to make choices, as you were talking about rare earths. Countries are signing deals. A rare earth deal, for example, the ones that Mr. Trump has signed, indicates that certain countries are willing now to negotiate their private bilateral interests with the US in a way that does not preclude more tariffs, that does not lead to more tariffs or more sanctions. So countries are looking after their interests both individually, and ASEAN will also be doing that. So the question is, how far can ASEAN continue to pursue a strategic autonomy in decision making as it is getting buffeted on both sides? Now the good news is that they are trying their best. Therefore, a partnership with India becomes more important, and therefore more attention will be given as ASEAN diversifies its partnerships away from US and China. I think they will certainly would see in India a country with enough scale, with enough economic dynamism, with enough strategic heft to build a partnership. But also therein lies the challenge that if they are put under pressure by either China or the US, then what space will they have to build these partnerships? Because ultimately India would like a forward-looking partnership where the challenges of the 21st century can be met without the Damocles sword of other powers hanging. And I think in that sense, how far ASEAN would go to assert its autonomy, strategic autonomy, that would be an important marker. We know that the challenges that the ASEAN is facing is dividing ASEAN. And I think that's another challenge, that a divided ASEAN is becoming more and more apparent. It is a few days back, there was a lot of discussion around the theme of continental ASEAN versus maritime ASEAN. That there are land-based countries that have very different set of challenges versus those countries which are largely maritime. And their strategic priorities are diverging. So if that happens, if ASEAN becomes divided, weak, vulnerable to external pressure and coercion, then I think India will also be taking a step back and evaluating certain options, although it does give India some opportunities as well.
Definitely. One more question I would like to ask you, that in today's world, maritime security is a big challenge. So how can India and ASEAN work together, when it comes to maritime security more effectively?
I think this is a unique moment because ASEAN had largely focused when it comes to maritime security on around its periphery, as has India, Indian Ocean. So I think now when we talk of the Indo-Pacific, it seamlessly brings ASEAN and India together. And increasingly the case is being made by ASEAN members, several of them by India, and many in India, that look, we can't really look at Indian Ocean and Pacific as two distinct maritime zones. So if you believe that Indo-Pacific is a reality, and ASEAN took a long time in coming to that realization, but they have come to a realization that there is no getting away from the idea of the Indo-Pacific, then working together, institutionalizing cooperation, and bringing to bear their own strengths in their respective geographies. So if India is the leader in Indo-Pacific, in the Indian Ocean, and India has capabilities and strengths in the Indian Ocean, and then ASEAN member states would want to use those to leverage India's strengths. Similarly, India would want to leverage the strengths that ASEAN member states have in their vicinity, around their periphery. And I think maritime domain awareness is something that everyone is bothered about, everyone is working towards. And this idea that next year should be the year of India ASEAN maritime cooperation is a good indicator that both sides value this partnership in maritime security, and both sides are willing to invest diplomatic capital in building greater synergies there. And I think that is where, we are going to see more and more. India does a lot on maritime security with some individual member countries rather than ASEAN as a bloc. So I think there also some work needs to be done as to how ASEAN as a whole can become much more important driver in these conversations rather than some countries that have greater stake in the maritime cooperation endeavors.
All right, Professor Harshvardhan Pant, thank you so much for joining in. Jessica, I would like to ask you now that how do you see the role of emerging technologies, like AI, blockchain, quantum computing when it comes to the India-ASEAN relations? How do you analyze that? All right, Jessica, I would like to ask you that how do you see the role of emerging technologies like AI, blockchain and quantum computing when it comes to the India-ASEAN relations?
There's a lot that could be discussed in that aspect, pardon me. And in a sense that we've seen the kind of engagement, especially in the area of technology and digital transformation, has gone a long way, and India-ASEAN relations perhaps are taking a different trajectory even there. While I don't have a lot of input on that at this point, Siddharth, I think the expert would be best to answer an interesting question like that.
Okay, all right, Jessica. I would like to ask Mr. Ashok Sajjanar the same question. Sir, how do you see the role of emerging technologies when it comes to India-ASEAN relations? Emerging technologies like AI, quantum computing and blockchain.
Yeah, very important because, I think it is agreed and it is believed by everyone that it is technology that is going to determine the future, positioning of any country in the global economic and security architecture. As far as India is concerned, what we have been saying is that India was could not take full advantage as far as the industrial revolution is concerned, because at that time India was a colony and it was not free to use all the possibilities. But now India is determined as far as the technological revolution is concerned that we'll take full advantage. So whether it is in the area of semiconductors, it's in the area of manufacturing, it's in the area of quantum computing, it's in the area of AI. These are all areas, it's in the area of space. These are all areas where India is focusing a great deal. And there are great possibilities as far as the ASEAN is concerned, because you would recall that when the Prime Minister had gone to Singapore, then we had signed a large number of agreements in the area of manufacture of semiconductors, chips in India. And of course, some of them, two of these production units, I understand, have already started producing semiconductors. Similarly is the case when we had the visit of the Malaysian Prime Minister to India recently, and there also, there were discussions and there were agreements that were signed. So I think there are individually or at a bilateral level, there are number of these countries, whether it is Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Vietnam, etc., those that have very good possibilities, very good technological capabilities with whom we can cooperate. Also in terms of the governance, particularly of technology like AI. We know that this is a new technology. We do not really know what, meaning it has great advantages, great benefits, but also challenges.
All right, Mr. Sajjanar and Jessica, thank you both of you, and we are heading for a short break. Stay tuned to DD India.
A confluence of spirituality, knowledge and culture. The progenitor of democracy, Bihar holds a special place in India's history. Treasure the journey of enlightenment. Travel the holy circuit trails of multiple faiths. Experience the legacy of ancient India. And an educational lineage that produced some of the greatest luminaries of the time. Discover a multitude of art and craft forms. Savor the true flavors of the land. And enjoy the sights and sounds of iconic festivals. Delve deeper into the natural beauty of this land, enriched by the sacred river Ganga. Today, Bihar's infrastructure is at the heart of its transformation. Poised to take a big leap with initiatives in agriculture, education, tourism, and information technology. An ode to a remarkable history. Bihar truly offers a glimpse into a captivating past and vibrant present. Welcome to Bihar.
Sometimes even the smallest things like changing our food habits or nurturing a patch of land or rethinking our relationship with the animals around us can spark a transformation that reaches way beyond ourselves.
Neighborhood Group joined forces with the local cafe to launch Feeding Forward, a program that distributes surplus food to street dogs. The idea is to reduce both waste and animal aggression.
Familial forestry emphasizes that we are ready to own a responsibility to nurture that particular tree like a green member of family.
Our vision for this is to have every rooftop in Chennai covered by a vegetable green garden.
Sindhu's solution is a fresh salad delivery service called Salada. She and her husband have created 10 jobs and serve over 3,000 customers in Chennai.
All right, and welcome to DD India. It's the 47th ASEAN Summit, and I have with me Mr. Ashok Sajjanar and also Mr. Sanjay Bhardwaj, who's from School of International Studies, JNU. Welcome both of you. Mr. Sajjanar, to you first. You know, supply chain resilience has been a hot topic now. So how can both India and ASEAN work together in this area?
I think that is very critical because we have seen that over the last few years, supply chains have been weaponized, you know, during the COVID time, particularly even for small little things like masks and PPEs, etc. It was supply chains were weaponized. And so it is all the countries have realized that having large-scale production just in one geography, in one territory, it is not good for them, it is not good for the stability of the global economy. So in that context, I think all the countries are trying. India has, in fact, signed a trilateral agreement with both Japan and Australia to have, supply chain resilience, stability and resilience. And this is a very important element that we are, engaging with ASEAN. We are taking forward as far as ASEAN is concerned. So, we have a good volume of bilateral trade with the ASEAN, more than $120 billion. We import about $80 billion, export about $40 billion. So we really need to we need to ensure that there is supply chain resilience, there is stability, there is none of the countries, none of the institutions is able to weaponize that and have correct protocols set up as far as supply chains are concerned. And I think we are politically, we both ASEAN and India are on the same page. So there should not be any major problem or major difficulty as far as ensuring that there is, whatever are the intermediate or what are the input goods that are required, because India is also becoming a very significant manufacturing hub of a number of items, whether it is pharmaceuticals or it is electronic components or it is cell phones, smartphones, etc. So I think, and many of those components are received from ASEAN countries. So a dialogue and a conversation on that is very essential, very necessary. And but I don't think that there is any major problem, major issue. With some of the countries, we do have that. For instance, from China, we had the fact that tunnel boring machines, we were not able to get that. We were not able to get certain APIs for the pharmaceuticals, which India manufactures, or even as far as the rare earth materials are concerned. So with ASEAN, we need to be very clear that all the supply chains, there are no problems when either way, both ways, when we need that.
Okay, okay, Mr. Bharadwaj. Now, with 2025 is the year, it's designated as the ASEAN-India Year of Tourism. How can India and ASEAN both work together to boost people-to-people ties?
Yeah, I think the most important aspects, what we have lost the link between India and ASEAN, it was the Cold War politics and that Americans, they have promoted this cultural entity into ASEAN as a regional organization, and India and ASEAN relations has become the victim of the Cold War politics. But you go and you have a retrospective view about India and ASEAN's engagement, then you find it's a civilizational linkages that we have from the spread of major religion to the Southeast Asian countries, including Hinduism, Buddhism. Then you can also see that all the Islam, that is also Indo-Islamic cultural ethos and values are there. So we are highly, deeply connected culturally from the history. You can see also that the Chola dynasty, that is the most extensive dynasty, had its sway in the Southeast Asian countries. We had a deep economic and commercial linkages as well with the ASEAN countries. So you can see that while we are looking in the sense of cultural connectivity, this cultural connectivity had been historically with India, and there are number of you can say examples, going to Bali, going to Jakarta, going to Thailand, Singapore, and all that. The Indian cultural ethos and values are very much linked with the historical evidences. The second point is, of course, that we have been trying to connect after 1990. You can see through its Look East policy initially, where cultural connectivity and then physical connectivity, commercial connectivity, and then it comes the capacity builder up. These are 4 pillars of India's Act East policy today. So in that, we try to connect with the Southeast Asian countries by education, by enhancing physical connectivity. You know that number of projects. One is, of course, the Kaladan multimodal project is connecting with Myanmar, and that Myanmar is connecting to Thailand and Cambodia and all these countries. Then you can see India has also tri-nations road connectivity from India, Myanmar to Thailand, and that we are looking to extend it up to the Vietnam. That is the physical connectivity will connect with the people. Then in the case of policies, of course, that look east policy has become more active, while Prime Minister Narendra Modi had articulated in a sense of acting or connecting with Asia or acting with Southeast Asian countries, and that has become very significant. While we see the datas of trade and people to people connect, so you can see that under these policies, we had been working under ASEAN Regional Forum from 1996, then you can say ASEAN Dialogue Partner from 1995, then ASEAN-India Summit from 2002. And later on, we have developed a comprehensive strategic partnership with the Southeast Asian countries. And there we are just not looking about the security issues, or you can see that we are basically trying to connect with the Southeast Asian countries in the non-traditional security areas like the energy, like the education, health, and then environmental issues and people to people. All these means that we are trying to connect. Of course, that recent past we are also trying to meet the digital gaps that has been created, and we are connecting for the technological corporations and semiconductor, and all these issues has come as the global goods. And when Prime Minister Narendra Modi has recently visited to Singapore and then Brunei also, there we had been talking about this digital and knowledge gap between India and the Southeast Asian countries, how these two countries can pave a way for the sustainable peace in the region. So there you can see people to people connect is very important. With number of the countries, we have online visa, and you can see visa free entry, that you can visa on arrival, like you can go to Malaysia, you can go to Indonesia, then Thailand, right. All the arrival is there. So the two countries have been constructively region, you can say, where India is representing to South Asia and then Southeast Asian countries. We are trying to connect with each other and trying to have a peaceful Asian regions to rise and to create a global South, a voice of global South, or you can say the voice of the East that had been much into the spiritual voice and the knowledge voice historically. So we are working together, and you can see the data of trade, how much trades we are having. We have also developed very strong supply chain with the Southeast Asian countries, and India has also been working with them to ensure the maritime security under Indo-Pacific region or Indo-Pacific strategy. There we are looking forward to have free and open Indo-Pacific region, and all the Southeast Asian countries are looking India as a very constructive, very engaging partner, while they are experiencing some bitter incidents with China. While the Chinese, they are coming with their expansionist policies in South China Sea, building artificial ports and islands, and they are also trying to claim their sovereignty in the South China Sea. So they are all looking forward to have India as their strategic partner, and they are also looking to have India as cultural and economic partner. You can see Vietnam is very, very, very lively examples that we have developed strategic partner. We have invested in South China Sea, in the territorial water of Vietnam, in energy sector. We have exporting arms and doing all conscious military diplomacy with these countries as well, to have a better understanding between India and ASEAN countries.
Indeed. Mr. Sajjanar, what do you like to say on that? How pivotal are the people-to-people ties when it comes to the strengthening diplomatic and economic ties between India and ASEAN?
No, absolutely. I think there might be relations between governments, bilateral relations, and even with the regional organization. But what really sustains and strengthens the relationship is amongst the people of the two countries. And I think over the last 10 years or so, there has been a big impetus, big fillip that has been provided to this. I think we really need to see, when we look at 10 members of the ASEAN, and today it's become the 11 members of the ASEAN, that at least 9 of them have impact of the Indic civilization. Whether you look at Indonesia, the biggest Indian empire, the Srivijaya Empire, used to be there. As far as Thailand is concerned, Buddhism went to Thailand, Hinduism went to Thailand, and even, more than 80-90% of the population is Buddhist. You look at Angkor Wat, that is the biggest Hindu temple complex in the world. So, and similarly, you can go around to any of the other countries also, and you find that the imprint of India and Indian civilization is very, very strong. Now, unfortunately, during the Cold War, we had, the establishment, because at that time the United States had taken it upon itself that, either you are with us or against us, and battling communism was the biggest challenge that they had identified, and the whole world was polarized into 2 parts. So we were not really able to utilize that cultural connect, that civilizational connect with the ASEAN so very well. But particularly after the Look East policy in 1992 and then Act East policy of 2014, there are so many programs that India has put in place. That is, we invite a large number of journalists from different ASEAN countries. We invite a large number of professionals. We invite a large number of students. And I've had the pleasure and opportunity of addressing many of these cohorts and many of these groups when they have come to India. And, they are invited by different institutions and organizations, whether it is the Sushma Swaraj Foreign Service Institute, whether it is CII, whether it's FICCI. So I think this is basically to promote understanding, to promote cooperation, to promote better appreciation of each other, so that, although our relations are historical and civilizational, but under the impact of westernization and consumerism, they have really not been able to come up to the fore. But, there is a strong attempt that is being made. And of course, tourism is a very important element in that, because tourism not only brings the people of the countries together, but it also promotes business, it promotes industrial cooperation, it promotes commercial cooperation. So I think in every sense of the word, it is good for the receiving countries also, as far as tourism is concerned. It is very good. The other aspect, of course, is education. And education is very significant. We have now world-class universities under our different fellowship programs, whether it is ICCR, whether it is ITEC, what is called the Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation Program. We have large numbers of people from these countries who come to India, who undertake training programs in the highest educational institutions. And when they go back, they really go back as very active ambassadors of India. They represent, what India has to offer. So I think this has great potential, and the fact that 2025 is identified as the year of India-ASEAN tourism, I think that's very welcome, and I'm sure that will go a long way in further providing a further impetus and push to bringing both India and ASEAN together, and India and all the 10-11 members of ASEAN also strengthening the partnership and the relationship.
Definitely. Mr. Bharadwaj, amid the challenging times in the global world, what do you think is the biggest challenge that stands in front of the entire bloc?
You can see, of course, the Southeast Asian countries, they are also having 2-3 major problems that has come out in recent past. One is, of course, the Cambodia and Thailand, they were having border conflict. But the most significant challenge I do find in Southeast Asian country is the Myanmar. Myanmar has, you can see there is the resistance forces and the military junta, they have been fighting. Now there are elections, but in the elections, that entire country is not having the elections because some of the areas are with the resistance forces. And you can see Chinese, they are a big actor in this region of Myanmar and all that. They are basically supporting military junta at a time, but they are also supplying arms and all to the Arakan army and resistance forces in this region. The second, of course, is the challenge of Rohingya refugees. They are not only coming to South Asian countries, Bangladesh and India, they are also flying, they are also going to the other Southeast Asian countries, including in Indonesia, Malaysia, and all these countries. So that is the second most important challenge, that the migration or the Rohingya refugees. The third, of course, is the drug trafficking. These people, they are also involved in drug trafficking. The Yaba pills is very popular among youth in this region of Myanmar and Southeast Asian countries. They are exported to the other parts of the Asia. So they are that is also becoming one of the significant issues. Then the fourth, of course, is the environmental concerns that these because of the island countries and states in Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, and then all these countries, they are having problems from the global warming and all that. They are very conscious. They are looking forward to have climate justice and trying to bargain it with the global north. They had been responsible to contribute in the global warming, and they are an opportunity to join hand with India, while India is looking forward to have strengthen the voice of the global south. I think that to meet these issues, these problems, you can see India had been trying to engage with these countries at 3 layers. One is that you can see that macro level. And when we see that Indian foreign ministers, Indian finance minister, home minister, and that commercial minister, and including prime minister, they have been regularly going to these countries for the bilateral talks and discussions and debates whenever there are opportunities. You can see Prime Minister Narendra Modi has recently visited a number of Southeast Asian countries.
Right.
Have this kind. The second very important aspects, Ambassador Sajjan also pointed out about how you can engage and to meet these emerging global challenges in Southeast Asian countries is, of course, one that the Indo-Pacific strategy, that how you are trying to contain the threats or the expansion of Chinese in South China Sea is one of the challenges. But at the meso level, you can also see, to meet these challenges, we are also trying to come out with a common security and strategies to meet under Indo-Pacific strategies. We are also trying to have scholarly exchange between India and Southeast Asian countries. Scholars, there are very good examples that India has basically had established Nalanda University, where the scholarship has been developed to know each other's problems, issues, culture, society, and all that, so that you can come out and you can identify the convergence between India and Southeast Asian countries. That is the major level we have been doing. But the most important aspect is what is missing is still at the micro level. At the micro level, you can see that people-to-people contact. You have earlier mentioned about that thing. How much people-to-people contact are taking place. Tourism is one of the one of the significant areas where they are visiting to Singapore. We have seen that popular destinations. They're also going to Indonesia, Bali, and all that. You can also see that there is very strong presence of Indian community in Kuala Lumpur. Around 10% the population of Kuala Lumpur, they speak the South Indian languages, and then you can see on the street that a lot of South Indian foods are also available. But still there are scope to increase at the cooperation at the micro level, so that the understanding between two countries, the gaps or cultural, or you can say lingual gaps between the two regions, you can say that can be meet, and people have better understanding, better confidence between or trust between the two people. That would meet all these emerging challenges that these Southeast Asian countries, including South Asia, is facing. But last and most important is basically emerging threats from the terrorism and fundamentalism. You can see that terrorism, India had been suffering constantly from the extra-regional powers, as well as the state-sponsored terrorism from Pakistan and all these countries. And some of the countries, they were endorsing and supporting Pakistan during Pahalgam incidents and all that. So very unfortunate. So India is looking forward to have these liberal, democratic and progressive countries who are having very syncretic ethos and values, and supports these oppose these kinds of acts of the violent non-state actors that should not be promoted, and the countries who are supporting these acts should also be defied. And the second is the rise of fundamentalism, and it is not just happening in South Asia, but in Southeast Asian countries also. There is a rise of fundamentalism and insurgency movements. So I think these are the three important security threats to all these countries, that is terrorism, fundamentalism and insurgency, can be collectively addressed by India and ASEAN countries, so that we can have a better, healthy environment in these regions for better people-to-people cooperation and to better trade and investment environment.
Definitely. Mr. Sajjanar, cyber security and counter-terrorism, are the key points of cooperation. So how can both India and ASEAN strengthen their collaborative efforts in these areas?
Yeah, these are challenges, these are common challenges that the whole world is facing. It's not only peculiar to India, not only peculiar to, Southeast Asian countries. So all of us really have to put our best foot forward in terms of dealing with all these challenges. We've seen that India has been afflicted with counterterrorism for many, many years. Our case is very special because, we have across our western border that we've been having this cross-border terrorism. But there is also this issue of fundamentalism and, through internet and through technological means, trying to brainwash people. So, what are the challenges? What are the successes that different countries have been able to get in these areas of counterterrorism? For instance, we know that as far as Indonesia is concerned, it has registered very many great successes in reaching out in terms of dealing with the disinformation campaigns that have been going. And we have had good cooperation with the countries bilaterally, also at the institutional level, at ASEAN level. And so I think this is something that is an ongoing cooperation that we need to work together on. And India has, as I said, meaning we've been facing this challenge of counterterrorism terrorism for a long time and dealing with it. So we have a lot of experience as far as counterterrorism is concerned. And so we can share our experience with the ASEAN countries to their benefit and to their advantage. And we've seen so many of those countries whether it is Philippines or it is Thailand or it is Malaysia, Indonesia, which have so many problems of terrorism. And similarly, as I said, from Indonesia and others who've been able to develop such programs or best practices. So we can benefit from that, we can take advantage of that. Similar is the case, Siddharth, in the context of the cyber security. And cyber security has again emerged as a very big challenge. We've seen that in India also we've had all these cases of digital arrests and so many other ways that are found by the people to get into the personal individual emails of individuals, but also at the corporate level, also at the industrial level. So it is definitely, what is the sort of malware that is being created, what are the, of the hackers, what they are doing as far as cybersecurity, those challenges are concerned. And definitely, India has taken very many forward steps and leaps in the area of technology. And so also, I think, many countries of ASEAN, particularly whether it is Singapore or Malaysia, Thailand, they have also had registered very many successes. And I think all of us can work together to mutual benefit and to mutual advantage.
Definitely. Mr. Bharadwaj, how do you analyze the relation between India and ASEAN when it comes to humanitarian assistance and disaster relief?
Yeah, these are two very important areas. India had come out with number of policies, particularly when I put from the Indian point of view, a part of the Act East policy or Indo-Pacific strategy. India has also come out with the Indian Ocean security strategies. Under one is of course the Sagar, security and growth for all. But recently, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi had visited to Mauritius, there he talked about that Mahasagar, and that Mahasagar is quite because talking across the region, the mutual and holistic advancement of security and growth across or beyond the region. You can see, so they are looking forward to have this cooperation in the context of maritime security. And there the two important threats, one is that sea lane communication and the threat from the pirates in Indian Ocean, because you can see that Japan, they have almost 70% trade through the Indian Ocean. China, they have around 80% trade through the Indian Ocean, and all the Southeast Asian countries, they are also having trade to the Indian Ocean. So all these countries, they are very much looking forward to have India's active engagement in Indian Ocean to secure these trading routes, so that that can be ensured that this Indo-Pacific region should be free and open to all, and that should be peaceful region. The second very important aspects that pointed out over the disaster management. All these island states, they are having, particularly you see the Bay of Bengal is much of the volatile region in the cyclone, floods and all, very frequent cyclone, and that we have seen. We have seen tsunami, even recently when there were cyclone where Myanmar and Bangladesh and Thailand was affected. India had extended its humanitarian assistance as well as sent its naval forces to immediate relief to these countries. And this is under this we have been regularly having India-ASEAN naval exercise. We have also recently had a 50 countries Milan naval exercise to ensure the security of this Indian Ocean and Arabian Sea to the Indo-Pacific region. So they are basically, they are just not looking the security aspects, they are also looking the non-traditional security aspects into the consideration, where you can see from security from the disaster, cyclone, and they are also looking security to their energy resources, critical minerals, wherever they are, either in the offshore and onshore, so that also can be protected. So India has been actively working with these countries. We have number of agreements, we have number of MOUs with ASEAN countries under being a dialogue partner, being part of the India-ASEAN strategic partner, and of course being part of the ASEAN regional forum. So India had been signing. You know, this the Southeast Asian countries, it is a home to, now there are 10 countries, it will become 11 countries when by this summit East Timor will join it. East Timor has also been a very, very volatile region and conflicting region. But now they are joining, so they will collectively look forward. It is a home to 678 million people with the 3.9 trillion GDP size of this. This is a big size, you can say. In totality, it is almost India's economic size. India is also around 4 trillion economy. They are collectively around 3.9 trillion economy. So we are looking forward to have better economic and commercial engagement with these countries, and there we are looking the new emerging areas, new emerging threats, either in the maritime zone, or you can see in the within the states that they are facing. So there all the countries looking forward to connect with the Asian countries, to connect with the ASEAN countries, and to have a larger, broader Indo-Pacific strategy. In that, I can also give one very important examples. There, they are also looking forward a active engagement from Japan in Bay of Bengal growth, industrial growth programs. What the Japan, they are coming in Bay of Bengal region, working in Myanmar, working in Bangladesh and in India. So they are developing different infrastructures. They are also looking forward to engage these Southeast Asian countries under the larger Indo-Pacific strategy. They are also looking to ensure the security of this region, the Bay of, or you can say Quad port in Bay of Bengal region, so that you can have better security to these countries while there are natural calamities, cyclones, floods, and if there is any external aggressions from the extra-regional powers in this region, so that the Southeast Asian countries and India can actively counter and resist these kinds of threats to this region. So that number of areas had been identified while the two regions, or you can say India and ASEAN, they are meeting virtually, or they are meeting physically in different forums, and I'm sure that they are what Prime Minister Narendra Modi emphasized, that we believe a human-centric development. So we are looking forward to have human security rather than the state-centric approach of developments, because state-centric development is looking moreover in the traditional security paradigm and in the Westphalian context. But India, being a civilizational states, always look forward to have human security-centric approach of development, and that's why we look Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, and Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. Like we are looking forward to have all the humankinds as a family for the development. So India has been positively engaging with these Southeast Asian countries, being very historical and civilizational linkages with these countries, and we are looking forward to have a better cooperation in future as well.
Definitely. Mr. Sajjanar, when it comes to trade between India and ASEAN, then it has grown substantially, but there is some untapped potential. What do you have to say about it? And the trade within the bloc? How do you analyze that?
Yeah, as far as trade within the bloc is concerned, I think that is doing pretty well and very handsomely. I think next only to the European Union that this is a bloc that is performing very well. There are very many regional blocs around the world, whether it's in South America, whether it's in Africa or elsewhere, Asia also. But I think if we look at the European Union, that might be having more than about 56% of their trade, total trade is intra-EU trade. And here I think it is in the range of about 25-30%. So, they still have a lot of leeway to catch up as far as the European Union is concerned, but still it is much better. If you look at, of course, SAARC is a defunct organization. It's a moribund organization. But there it is less than 5% of our trade of the member countries of SAARC, which are done, within the SAARC member states. But if you look at India and ASEAN, our relations have developed, economic relations have developed very well, meaning if I could just give over the last 25 years, we have, we started when the negotiations on India-ASEAN FTA in goods that was started in 2002. The bilateral trade, I think, was in the region of about $12 billion. That had increased to about 2000 by 2009-10 when the agreement was finalized. It had gone up to about 70 plus 76 billion, $80 billion. Today it is, as I mentioned earlier in the program, Siddharth, it is about $120 billion plus. But there also it is, there is more than $80 billion that is exported from the ASEAN countries and just about $40 billion that is exported from India. So India has really not been able to get as much benefit and advantage from this bilateral FTA as we had hoped or as we had expected. And one or two important reasons for that. One is that India had high tariffs, so as a result of this FTA, we brought down our tariffs. But the ASEAN countries in 2009, etc., they already had significantly lower tariffs. So, if they have tariffs of 5% and they bring it down to 3%, then it doesn't make much of a difference. It doesn't give me all that much of a benefit. While if in India's case, we have a tariff of, let's say, 25-28%, and we bring it down to 10%, then of course, it provides very good access to the ASEAN countries. The second aspect is that, many of the manufacturing firms and enterprises in these countries are Chinese investments, and they are manufactured there. They get the rules of origin from there. So it is an indirect way of Chinese goods coming into India. So although we know that, we have a very skewed and imbalanced trade relationship with China, for instance, just last year, about $113 billion. And India has a trade deficit of about 100 billion with China, which is huge and totally unsustainable. So much of the Chinese goods also finding their way through the ASEAN countries. And that is why in 2022, we had approached the countries, we had approached ASEAN that we need a renegotiation of the terms of the ASEAN-India Trade in Goods Agreement. And it was decided that, over 3 years we'll be able to finalize this review and, what are the changes that are required. But unfortunately, the progress on that has been very slow. So we really need to take it up, I think, when the Prime Minister has come up with his views on the discussions that he's planning to have with his counterparts from ASEAN. He's also mentioned about the renegotiation of the ITGA, ASEAN-India Trade in Goods Agreement. So I think that's a very important element because there's a huge potential. As Professor Bhardwaj has said very rightly, 680 million people. So it's a huge consumer base. So they can absorb so much of exports from India. And about $3.9 trillion, again, a huge, GDP. But
we also have Mr. Sanjay Bhardwaj with us. Mr. Bhardwaj, when we talk about the trade between India and ASEAN, we also, some of the aspects of it are digital trade and e-commerce. So do you think that these are emerging as the new engine of India-ASEAN economic cooperation?
Yeah, of course, it's very important while we talk about the e-commerce and digital communication between the two countries. We are also looking forward rupee, in the digital forms to promote the exchange or payment through rupee. That is one of the important areas where Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going and visiting. You can also see that the service sector, particularly in the IT sectors, that India has been demonstrating very well in last more than 2 decades. And the Southeast Asian countries, they are looking trained IT professionals into different industries in Southeast Asian countries. Number of good IT experts are working in Singapore, and they're working in Malaysia and all Brunei and all these Southeast Asian countries. That is also one of the very important area there. India and ASEAN countries, they are looking forward to have a better cooperation because service sector is much dominated by the Chinese. You can say skilled workers. They are working in different areas in Southeast Asian countries, but they are looking more expertise and more in-depth in the services from the Indian scholars and Indian people in the either IT sector or medical sector, health, and then pharmaceutical, and you can also see the other educational institutes in Singapore and in all these countries they are working. So service sector had been.
All right, let's go across to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's address to the ASEAN Summit.
In terms of trade, investments, collaboration, universities with India. That is why I'm particularly delighted to have Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is a friend of ASEAN and me personally. And I think, thank you very much. Welcome to this ASEAN meeting. And we have had a series of meetings today. And ASEAN-India dialogue relations for us remain a force for stability, for mutual prosperity, and with your strides in economic advancement, in various fields. I'm sure it will be beneficial both to India and ASEAN. It is my honor, therefore, to invite my respected Prime Minister, Perdana Menteri of India, Narendra Modi, to deliver his opening remarks. Please.
Your Excellency, प्रधानमंत्री और मेरे मित्र अनवर इब्राहिम जी, Your Majesty, Excellencies, नमस्कार। आपने आसियान परिवार के साथ फिर एक बार मुझे जुड़ने का अवसर मिला है। मुझे बहुत खुशी हो रही है। आसियान की सफल अध्यक्षता के लिए मैं प्रधानमंत्री अनवर इब्राहिम को हार्दिक बधाई देता हूं। भारत के कंट्री कोऑर्डिनेटर की भूमिका कुशलता से निभाने पर फिलीपींस के राष्ट्रपति मार्कोस का धन्यवाद करता हूं और आसियान के नए सदस्य के रूप में तिमोर लेस्ते का स्वागत करता हूं। थाईलैंड की क्वीन मदर के देहांत पर मैं सभी भारतवासियों की ओर से थाईलैंड के राज परिवार और जनता के प्रति अपनी गहरी संवेदना व्यक्त करता हूं। फ्रेंड्स, भारत और आसियान मिलकर विश्व की लगभग 1/4 जनसंख्या को रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं। हम सिर्फ ज्योग्राफी ही शेयर नहीं करते, हम गहरे ऐतिहासिक संबंधों और साझे मूल्यों की डोर से भी जुड़े हुए हैं। हम ग्लोबल साउथ के सहयात्री हैं। हम केवल व्यापारिक नहीं, सांस्कृतिक साझेदार भी हैं। आसियान भारत की एक्ट ईस्ट पॉलिसी का मुख्य स्तंभ है। भारत सदैव आसियान सेंट्रलिटी और इंडो पैसिफिक पर आसियान के आउटलुक का पूर्ण समर्थन करता रहा है। अनिश्चितताओं के इस दौर में भी भारत आसियान कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप में सतत प्रगति हुई है और हमारी ये मजबूत साझेदारी वैश्विक स्थिरता और विकास का सशक्त आधार बनकर उभर रही है। फ्रेंड्स, इस वर्ष की आसियान समिट की थीम है इंक्लूसिविटी एंड सस्टेनेबिलिटी और ये थीम हमारे साझा प्रयासों में स्पष्ट दिखती है, चाहे वो डिजिटल इंक्लूजन हो या फिर मौजूदा वैश्विक चुनौतियों के बीच फूड सिक्योरिटी और रिजिलियंट सप्लाई चेन सुनिश्चित करना। भारत इन प्राथमिकताओं का पूर्ण समर्थन करता है और इस दिशा में साथ आगे बढ़ने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है। फ्रेंड्स, भारत हर आपदा में अपने आसियान मित्रों के साथ मजबूती से खड़ा रहा है। HADR, समुद्री सुरक्षा और ब्लू इकोनॉमी में हमारा सहयोग तेजी से बढ़ रहा है। इसको देखते हुए हम 2026 को आसियान इंडिया ईयर ऑफ मैरीटाइम कोऑपरेशन घोषित कर रहे हैं। साथ ही हम एजुकेशन, टूरिज्म, साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी, हेल्थ, ग्रीन एनर्जी और साइबर सिक्योरिटी में आपसी सहयोग को भी मजबूती से आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं। अपनी साझा सांस्कृतिक विरासत को संजोने और पीपल टू पीपल संबंधों को मजबूत करने के लिए हम साथ मिलकर काम करते रहेंगे। फ्रेंड्स, 21वीं सदी हमारी सदी है, भारत और आसियान की सदी है। मुझे विश्वास है कि आसियान कम्युनिटी विजन 2045 और विकसित भारत 2047 का लक्ष्य पूरी मानवता के लिए एक उज्जवल भविष्य का निर्माण करेगा। आप सभी के साथ भारत कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर इस दिशा में काम करने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
And that was Prime Minister Modi's opening remarks in the 22nd India-ASEAN Summit. While addressing virtually, PM Modi said that he is very happy to have been reconnected with ASEAN family. He congratulated Mr. Anwar Ibrahim on Malaysia's assumption of the ASEAN chairmanship. Also congratulated East Timor on becoming 11th member of the ASEAN bloc. He said ASEAN is India's Act East policy's main pillar, and in challenging times, India-ASEAN comprehensive strategic partnership has seen development. Now we are heading for a small break. Stay tuned to DD India.
Welcome to Lakshadweep, the land of 100,000 islands, the aquatic wonderland of India, an archipelago of spectacular marine gems, colorful coral and crystal clear lagoons, a kaleidoscope of turquoise blue. Each island of Lakshadweep draws in explorers with its unique beauty. Witness idyllic sunsets and pristine beaches of Kavarati, the majestic lighthouse and colorful boat races at Minikoi. Experience water sports in the shallow lagoons of Kadmat. Unwind in the serene setting of Bangaram. Lakshadweep offers a precious heritage of ecology and culture, with rhythmic beats of folk dances echoing through these islands, delighting visitors in traditional folk dances and local artworks. With abundant marine life and mineral resources, the islands are advancing towards a greener, brighter future. Lakshadweep is set to amaze visitors with its breathtaking wonders and picturesque seascapes, in the enduring spirit of incredible India.
Sometimes even the smallest things like changing our food habits or nurturing a patch of land or rethinking our relationship with the animals around us can spark a transformation that reaches way beyond ourselves.
Neighborhood Group joined forces with the local cafe to launch Feeding Forward, a program that distributes surplus food to street dogs. The idea is to reduce both waste and animal aggression.
Familial forestry emphasizes that we are ready to own a responsibility to nurture that particular tree like a green member of family.
Our vision for this is to have every rooftop in Chennai covered by a vegetable green garden.
Sindhu's solution is a fresh salad delivery service called Salada. She and her husband have created 10 jobs and serve over 3,000 customers in Chennai.
And welcome to this special broadcast. We just heard the opening remarks by Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the India-ASEAN Summit. And to discuss more on this, I've been joined by Mr. Ashok Sajjanar and also Mr. Sanjay Bharadwaj. Welcome both of you on this special edition. Mr. Sajjanar, how do you analyze what Prime Minister Narendra Modi said in his opening remarks at the India-ASEAN Summit?
The remarks by the Prime Minister were very focused, very substantive, and really, they gave an idea of what is the current status of the bilateral partnership, which is very good, which is very strong, which is very vibrant, which is very robust. And also, what are the possibility, what is the potential as we go forward? So just a couple of points, if I could make with your permission,
please, sir.
Siddharth, and
please,
that is,
sir,
what he really mentioned is about the ASEAN centrality. That is an issue that has been plaguing the minds of the ASEAN countries for a long time, that although we started off as a unit of, first 6 countries and then came together and more were added, and today there are 11 of them, but there are bigger players like the United States, like China, Japan, India, etc., which are coming. So will we lose our relevance? Will we lose our significance? And Prime Minister Modi has been at pains all the time to say that for us, ASEAN centrality is critical, is absolutely sine qua non, it's absolutely imperative. So that is one key. The second point that he repeated also was about the Asian century, that it is our century and we have to work together. On the bilateral issues, as we have been discussing in your program for the last hour and a half, he did mention that 2026 we have agreed to have an ASEAN-India year of maritime cooperation.
Yes.
So this is something that we've been talking about.
Yeah. Right.
That we have, in terms of the South China Sea, we should have this.
Definitely.
Then this is one, and a number of elements, in terms of the blue economy, in terms of people-to-people contact, in terms of education, tourism, healthcare, cyber security. So I think many areas he mentioned. And this has really, in my view, given a very strong impetus to our bilateral ties.
All right. Mr. Bharadwaj, very quickly now, we are paucity of time. How do you analyze what Prime Minister Narendra Modi said in his opening remarks? He declared the year 2026 as ASEAN-India Year of Maritime Cooperation. Very quickly, sir.
No, let me first say that and congratulate that this was very... this shows that commitment of Prime Minister Narendra Modi towards the ASEAN countries, that being a busy scheduled election in Bihar and festive weather, but he could address the ASEAN summit by virtual mode. So I congratulate. The most important aspect what he talked about, along with the ASEAN centrality in the Indo-Pacific strategy, he is mentioning about the inclusivity. That is very important aspects, and in this inclusivity, what he is indicating that we are just not thinking about the traditional security issues or core military security issues, but he is also indicating about the non-traditional security issues, and there the maritime security cooperations, while he declared 2026 as Maritime Security Year. There he is also looking forward tourism, clean energy, green energy, education, all that would be part of Indo-Pacific strategy and inclusivity, where ASEAN would have the centrality in India's policy framework.
All right, both of you, Mr. Ashok Sajjanar and Mr. Sanjay Bharadwaj, thank you so much for joining in on the broadcast. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.